Hi, y'all. It's Rick here again. Welcome, planetary pilgrims. And for those of you in the Eastern time zone of the US, happy mid Thursday morning to you. I put my first video up yesterday and I thought I'd try it again because quite a few of you watched it. And it seems like this could be a really good way for me to just kind of share little things with you as we go through our days. So let us begin, as we will begin with these, by remembering that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of God. Now, I can call all of you planetary pilgrims, all of us, because even if you don't identify as such, like, when somebody says, "What are you?" you say, "I'm a planetary pilgrim." I've started doing that, and it does raise a few eyebrows, but it does also lead to some really interesting conversations. But here's why all of us, every single one of us, is a planetary pilgrim. Well, we are all sharing a planet, that's Earth, and this planet is moving. We are traveling as pilgrims, right? We're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour right now. We can't feel that, we can't perceive that, but that is what makes the sun change relative positions to us in the sky, right? Also, our planet is traveling at 66,000 miles an hour around the sun. And that, of course, is what makes the seasons and as the seasons change. So we're all planetary pilgrims, whether we identify as such or not. So I want to just share two little things with you this morning that I hope will be things that will enhance your day, especially if you are intentionally making this planetary Lenten pilgrimage. The first thing is a website that I put into the notes. If you're not seeing the notes as the way you have your Substack set up, I highly recommend that you do arrange to see those because that's going to give you a couple of things. One is resources that I will share with you. I may mention these in my daily posts, but perhaps not sometimes. That will be a place where you could find all of those resources at a glance. Secondly, as I mentioned before, that is where I'm going to put most of the politically focused things, right? I'll still maybe mention those from time to time in the daily post, but that is where you will find those. So if you like that part of Uncommon Communion, keep an eye on those notes. And lastly, I just want to remind you with the chat, please subscribe, use the chat feature. I do believe, I'm still learning this myself, I do believe, though, that anybody can start a thread on the chat. So use that and also use the comments for the posts as a place where we can connect with each other. We need each other on this journey, especially during these really crisis times. We need the nourishment, the spiritual food that being a practicing planetary pilgrim gives us in order to endure and to do the difficult work that we have before us. So I want to share with you something from a resource that I haven't shared yet. I'll put this a link to this book into the chat. The good news is if you are a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, you can get this free. So no reason not to download this. You might have to bump one of your 15 that you have downloaded already in order to find a slot for this particular book. But I really recommend it. I like looking at it each day. So a little bit of background. It is from Meister Eckhart, who is a Middle Age, from the Middle Ages, a really profound mystic. In many ways, if you're familiar with the Eastern, the Sufi mystic Rumi, his Meister Eckhart's poetry is very much, in some ways, like Rumi's poetry. So if you like Rumi, you may well like Meister Eckhart. And this particular book, again, it is on Amazon Unlimited, free of charge if you subscribe. I'm not getting any kind of a kickback for for getting you to subscribe. I do like my Amazon Unlimited though. But this is a modern translation slash interpretation of Eckhart's poetry. So it is a little bit different than what you might find in other Meister Eckhart works, but I really like it because it is simple. It just cuts right to it. And this is today's. I want to read this to you. It's quite short, and again, I'll probably just put it for you in a note as well. But here it is. I want more love, which is to say, more God. I want more God in everything, more love in everything, in and through and beyond it all, more God. I like that. I really like that. And when I read that for the first time this morning, a few things struck me. First of all, that line about desiring more love, right? The very first line, I want more love. And who doesn't, right? I mean, say that as you will, even the most angry people, even the people, and we're seeing a lot of these folks right now who are loud and belligerent and quite frankly, cruel. A lot of times when you scratch beneath the surface, we find that they really are seeking love, right? All of us want more love. And how do we find more God? And remember, the first letter of John tells us that God is love, right? How do we do this? Well, it is by paying attention, by eliminating those distractions, right? And really paying attention to wherever we are, whenever we are. And I would assert, especially paying attention to what we would consider creation, the natural world, right? Really focusing on that. And this passage today also struck me, this little poem, this little prayer, struck me because one of the ways that I am really beginning to conceptualize and understand God is this idea of more, right? So, when we begin to see with the eyes of a planetary pilgrim, when we begin to look deeply at whatever we encounter, right, we always recognize that there is more to be seen, right? There is more to be pondered. There is more to wonder about, right? And there's any number of different ways that we can do this, right? And when we do that, seeking the more, and I would put a capital M, lowercase o, r, e, can't really do that on the screen very well. I can't write backwards, but that is what we are seeking. When we are looking for the more, we are finding God in the midst of that, who is the more. And in that case, I make it capital M, capital O, capital R, capital E, right? So we seek the more and we find the more. That's what this is all about, y'all. That's how we discover God, or as a great wisdom teacher once said, we find God finding us, because God is always present. We are just not always present to God. So one last thing that this, when I saw this more God reflection, I thought about another more, right, that some of us desire, more cowbell, right? Not going to share that video for you. You probably know where to find that. But if this also brings up thoughts of more cowbell to you, find that SNL video and take a look at it. It is a classic. So thank you for joining. Again, share this with others. I'm sure you know folks who maybe have kind of fallen away from spiritual practice, maybe fallen away from a faith or a commitment to something greater than themselves. Please share this with them. And again, please be part of this community. Use the chat, use the comments, and let's recognize that we are planetary pilgrims together. So blessing and good, be well, and we'll see you again soon.